So let's just go jump right in. So my name is Ilya. This is Guide speaking, and here today we have Karinai Kуренковой, who's the founder of English school for learning English language. I'm not sure that that's right, but that's okay. It's called Bottle of Water. So Karina is telling us today how to look for accommodation abroad because she has an experience to rent an apartment in Belgrade in 1 day, in Moscow in 2 days, and in London in just a week, which is tremendous, I would say. So, Karina, passing the mic back to you, and let's just go.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That was a lovely introduction. Okay, so my first question is, guys, where are you? Can you please write in the chat, where are you based? So we could understand what have we got. What cities are you in right now? Currently Russia. Okay, whereabouts in Russia? Zoya, are you planning to move somewhere? France, Paris. Oh my God, it's taking my heart. Paris. Istanbul.
Yerevan there is also present. Yeah, just pointed this out. I'll be sometimes just jumping in. And
yeah, sure. Please be welcome. Latvia. Oh, such great places, guys. I'm planning to try and find a job, bro. Good luck with that. So, all right, that's amazing, actually. So, and have you guys found yourself a temporary accommodation in those cities? Please write in the chat. If you have, how many days did you need to do it? St. Petersburg, amazing, very, very beautiful Russian city, isn't it? So have you guys already found accommodation in cities where you based? And if you have, how many days did you need to do that? Let's keep it very interactive, right? Why won't we? Ilya, what about you? Whilst our participants are typing.
Yeah, I'm in Riga, so I'm a bit represented here in the chat. So I kept my mouth shut for a bit. So yeah, and yeah, I guess I'm in a more privileged position than others because my family is here in Latvia, so it's a bit easier for me to find to not just to rent but to find an apartment. Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that makes it, should make it a bit easier. Marina says she's in Riga as well, and she needed 5 days after the war started. I see. Oh, 5 days. Well done. That's great. So now let's type in. All right, guys, whilst you type in, I needed 7 days to find short-term accommodation. I'm here only for 2 months. 7 days. And that was in Istanbul, I believe. Oh yeah, that's very well done. Short-term accommodation for 2 months. Amazing. So then I'm hoping to hear from your life hacks, guys, today as well. So it's about my experience. I have been traveling full-time for the last 5 years, right? So I have been living pretty much everywhere. Istanbul as well, Europe all over, Spain, Portugal, Hungary, Montenegro, Serbia, and now the UK. And each time, whenever I move somewhere, I would stay like 3 months in a city. And of course, I'm not that keen on, paying for all this expensive Airbnb and booking and hotels. So I try to find somewhere midterm, let's say. And I mean, since I was doing it quite a lot, I think I've found out a couple of advices which might be interesting for you guys. I'm hoping at least. So what we have to understand whenever we look for accommodation abroad is that communication matters. It's all about communication, and communication in English. You have to create a positive impression of yourself. Well, at least you should seem, people, your landlords, your potential flatmates, housemates, whoever, they should see that you're not dangerous, at least, that you're not criminal, that you're not going to kill them, that you're adequate, that they can talk to you and understand you, and you have to create this sort of impression. That's a bare minimum. The maximum in this case would be to create an impression of a person with whom other people would love to share their house, their flat, whatever. How do you do that? Well, if we look at the process of looking for accommodation, we will be able to identify several steps. Step number 1 is all about yourself, isn't it? Very often here in the UK, for example, we have several websites and apps where you can look for accommodation. But if you want to do so, you have to write an advertisement presenting yourself. So imagine, guys, that you are in the UK or wherever, and you have to write this first post about yourself, telling about yourself. What do you think should be included in that post? What is important? Please write down in the chat. What do you think should be written in your first post about yourself?
Can I take a wild guess while everyone's typing? I might write about,
actually.
I might write about probably my job, and that I'm to show that I'm reliable for paying rent.
That's brilliant, Leah. Thank you very much. You have to show that you're reliable, absolutely. And also, your occupation may show that you're an interesting person, right? If I say I'm a founder at a startup, many people would think, oh, she might be an interesting person to share a flat with. Yeah? So that may play in your favor. Just talk about your occupation for sure. What else? Is there anything else important? That's so great that so many people are typing, that we have such an active community today.
Yeah, I guess everyone's writing, everyone's already preparing their, how do I put it, their posts for looking for accommodation. We'll probably get several by the end of the stream. Yeah, but also, I would probably write something about my family, because but this is just me, because I do have a family with whom I travel a lot, and I do have a dog. So it's best, to get those things out of the way, just to, to withdraw myself from the landlords that have a lot of, things.
Right, yeah, that you have ties to this country. Why not? While you guys are typing, I'll just relocate to another place. I wasn't expecting to have this webinar from my phone, so I need to get a bit closer to the charger. Sorry. Right. Here's another question. So you have to mention your occupation, for sure. You would probably want to mention your age, and especially it matters if you're going to share rooms with people, or like flats with people, because they want to be with the other like-minded people. Another question is, would you mention where you're from? Can you please write, would you mention that you're from Russia in your ad? Let's say that you're looking for accommodation in the UK.
Well, we'll still wait for answers. I'll just say that I'll just write it down because, to keep just to clear the air, get the elephant out of the room.
You would. Right. You know what I've noticed, definitely. Better to get cancelled right away than, that's fair enough. What works for me? I usually mention that I am Russian because, Russian government and Russia are different things, obviously, and we don't have to be ashamed of our citizenships, even if our government is doing terrible things right now. But at the same time, you can say, I am Russian, but I'm completely anti-war. I do not support what is going on right now, if that matters. For most people, it would not matter that much. But for those for whom it does matter, you show that here's where I stand for. So, so let us do it just briefly. So your occupation, your age. What also matters is when are you actually planning to move in, right? Your move-in date. And you can say, depending on your situation, you can say, guys, this is a date when I'm planning to move in, and I am planning to stay for this many months, because this is important, right? For your future contract, for expectations of your landlord. And usually it helps if you say that I'm quite flexible with the exact move-in date, because it's pretty rare to find an accommodation where you 100% match the move-in date with the landlord or the the previous flatmate. So you mention your move-in date, how long are you going to stay there, and your daily routine. Why is this important? People with whom you're planning to share accommodation, if you are planning, would love to know, what is it like to live with you? Don't they? For example, if you are an early bird and you love cooking and you're into sports, you can mention all of these things. And this is how people understand that usually you wake up very early and you need a bathroom and you need many other things. And this creates an overall impression of what are you like and what it's like to live with you. And you can be very, very honest about all your habits, smoking, having parties in the house, if you do, or if you don't, having a boyfriend or a girlfriend and inviting them over every now and again. So talking about your lifestyle, about your daily routine, can also benefit your ad largely. Children and pets, our favorite part. What do you guys think? Should you mention that you have a pet if you do in an ad? Is it worth mentioning that you have a pet? Let's say a lovely little dog, a Pomeranian like mine. Or is it worth mentioning that you have children? That's another thing.
It's funny that you said, you've mentioned Pomeranian dog, because does size really matter in that case?
It does.
It does. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess we do have a bit of a shy discussion today. So I think, I see the people are typing, but I'd say for myself that, you see Zoya here is writing that definitely that it shouldn't be a surprise. I'm also Team Zoya on this. So what do you think?
Yes, guys. You should definitely mention that you have a pet if you do. And what I usually say, and I have a dog. I have a Pomeranian, little sweet thing. I usually say that I have a very well-behaved dog, and we've been traveling for a long time, and we have references from our hosts. But if something happens, and something can happen, I am fully prepared to cover any costs related to the damage my dog makes. Rent with Pets in Ireland, unreal. Yeah, Marina, I can relate to that. I can relate to that. Yeah, obviously, yeah, sure. So you can't see it, guys, unfortunately, but I have prepared for you a template with phrases which will help you structure your ad in a way that you show that you're a decent person with whom it would be lovely to share space. And in this template, in this structure, I have 4 core parts. The part number 1, self-introduction. What matters here? I'll read you out my self-introduction and tell you what matters. You can say something. You can start with something like, "Hey, my name's Karina. I'm a female young professional," meaning I'm not a student. You can mention she, her, and that's an amazing thing to do, actually, especially if you're renting out in Europe, in the UK, and I guess in the United States, probably same. So I'm a female young professional, she, her, building an ad tech startup in London. I operate my business online, and thus I work from home 2-3 days a week. The rest of the week I usually spend in a co-working place somewhere in the center. So what matters here? Well, first of all, you introduce yourself in a way that other people see that you speak the same language that they do. You mention that you're a professional, you're not a student. You mention your age, you mention your gender, and the way you see yourself. After that, you talk a bit about your occupation, just like we said, and departing from that, you talk about your daily routine. How often should they expect to see you around in the flat? What's your lifestyle? How do you usually work? From home, not from home? Because for many people, that's actually a big thing. That's part 1. That's part 1. You will get these phrases in a presentation. I'll send them over to you. I am hoping with the help of my colleagues over here. Part number 2, here we talk about the urgency. How urgent this question is for you. You can say something like, "I'm urgently looking for a room or for a flat or for a house right now. And I am fully prepared to move in immediately." This is how you let people understand that you can move in even today, tonight, in the next hour. If the question is not that urgent, you can say, "I'm quite flexible with the move-in date, but I'm hoping to find something by this date." Let's say by the end of October. And the very last one, you can state the very concrete move-in date if it's quite far from today. Like you can say, "I'm planning to move in anytime starting from November the 1st. So this is a part 2. When are you planning to move? Part number 3 is all about yourself. Here's a little example. I'm a bit introverted and usually mind my own business. I respect other people's space, but would also be keen on spending time with housemates every now and again, if we happen to be like-minded. I do sports and love experimenting with healthy food. What it does, this part for us, is that we say that we are quite a social, we are social people, and we are up for spending time together with our flatmates if we have once, but also that we are very, very polite and we respect other people's spaces. That is the part 3. And the part 4 is about pets and kids, just what we've discussed. And this is how you end up having a really nice description which will help you land as many responses to your ad as possible. I can say that at this point I'm getting roughly 5-6 messages from hosts every day based on my description. And that's in London, where not hosts are looking for people, but people are looking for hosts and flats and houses. Do you guys at this point have any questions? Please write in the chat if you do. Whilst you're doing it, let me tell you about the... Can you share the presentation? Absolutely. Yes, yeah, I will. Absolutely. So that was it. Step number 1. Show me that you're not a weirdo, that you're not a freak. Step number 2, inquire. Not many people would bother reading hundreds of ads, right? How do you write about your pets if you have them? Oh, so yeah, I actually have a ready phrase over here in the presentation. I'll send it over and you'll have an opportunity to look at a couple of options and choose for yourself. I'm sorry about the presentation today, but I see technical things happen. So, inquiring. Not many people, as I said, would bother trying to, read all these hundreds of ads on the app, and you would have to inquire. And the first message matters. So guys, can you please tell me, what do you think is important about in the first message? How should you write your first message to a landlord so that they want actually to schedule an appointment with you? How to write an effective first message? Please write in the chat or tell us here, whatever you prefer. How do you write the first text to a landlord that it lands you as many appointments as possible? Any ideas? Ilya, if you want, you're always welcome to share your opinion.
Well, it's a hard one. Yeah, I'll just wait for the answers in the chat if that's possible. But yeah,
no one's writing anything. Yeah, because we don't know, right?
Yeah,
it's a very difficult question, frankly, isn't it?
I'd probably write something like like the average rent price. I'd multiply it by 2. And I just write this one down, and that's it. Just the number that is 2 times greater than the original rent price. And this would land me an apartment. But would I is it expected from me to pay the same amount that I've wrote? I'm not sure.
That's smart. I didn't think of it. I wonder what other people also think, but what I have noticed is important. Well, first of all, you want to sound very, very, very friendly, but not too informal. So you say hi and the name of the landlord. And you can say that, you know what, I've come across your ad. I think the room or the flat you're advertising is great. It looks really nice. And I would love to schedule a viewing with you. So that's the first part, yeah? Saying a little bit about the room, like a little compliment, and then like inviting a person to schedule a viewing. After that, what's important is that you leave your phone number. And I know that if this happens on Facebook, you wouldn't feel very comfortable leaving your digits, would you? But if that happens in some app which you trust, you can leave your phone number, because you know what? This will speed up things largely. Landlords would contact you directly and ask if you would like to come over sometime on Friday and see the apartment. After that, once we have given our phone number, and I am giving mine all the time, we should say about the moving date, when are you planning to move in, and also what has worked for me is that I always say that I am fully prepared to pay for 3 months in advance. And that helps you largely, because, you know, when a landlord is choosing between you, a person who's able to pay 3 months in advance plus a deposit, and a person who will only pay for the first month and who's like planning to rent for 2 months, for example, of course they would be fancying choosing you over other people. And that, as short as it gets. So you write a message like this, and you write in the very end, if that happens in the UK, let's say, you write, I look forward to hearing from you. And yeah, people start texting you back. And here's what happens next. Either these people would ask you to ring them and have a little chat, so they could understand that you're actually not a weirdo, or they would invite you over to come have a chat and see the place itself. And here it's also very, very important to have an effective communication. But we are running out of time, unfortunately. And if you would love to practice a bit more this type of conversations with native speakers, you should feel free to join our speaking sessions at our school, the Bottle of Water. We have native speakers from all over the UK who would be happy to help you with your speaking practices. And actually this Saturday we're having a speaking session exactly on this matter. And for all the participants of this little live session, we're going to have a 50% discount on our website, only for 1 day and only for you. So yeah, if you feel like practicing English with native speakers and practicing this target situation, how to communicate with your potential landlord or with your potential housemates or roommates, please feel free to join us. And I guess that's it from my side, and we can start the little Q&A.
Thank you, Karina, for this wonderful presentation. Nonetheless, it's just technical difficulties got us. Yeah, if anyone has any questions and like to, to ask them, please write down in the chat. But yeah, I guess it's it's this Friday mood today. It's already I'm not sure which time is it in London, but here in Central European time it's already past 3, past 4. So people are probably any questions, guys? Any just I do have a question though. So where actually to look for an apartment in different countries? What's your experience on tracking the boards or the websites? How do you find the right ones depending on your location?
It largely depends on your location. Thank you very much for the great question. Well, in the UK, we have a couple of websites. As I said, if you're looking for a room, the website is called Spare Room, right? If you're looking for a flat, there's a couple of like Zoopla, I believe. I can't remember others, but I can send them over to you. If that happens outside the UK, I would go on Facebook, all these lovely Facebook groups like Rent in Berlin, Rent in Barcelona, Rent in wherever. However, there's a number of countries, and that's actually very interesting. For example, in Serbia, what you have to do to rent a flat in Serbia is amazing. So you have to come to Serbia and you have to meet local people. This is what I've done. So I went to Serbia, I met a lovely lady, and I asked, like, do you happen to know anyone who's renting a flat here? She said, yes. It's like, it's all about horizontal ties in Serbia, and all my friends have done the same. So people waste weeks trying to find something on the internet when they come to Serbia, whereas what you have to do is you have just to ask. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So just like networking 101, I guess. So
Yeah.
another question for me is so again, on your experience, how many apartments and places you should look over to get to the right one? Because since we've spoken today to like an HR agency, and they've been telling us that it probably takes 40, 50, job applications to get an offer. In the landlording world, what would be your assumption?
It depends on your standards, I'd say, largely, right? If you have very complicated case, like you have kids, 3 kids, yeah, and you have people with disabilities in your family, or you need to have a very special sort of internet connection, and I think I would need that for my future rents. It makes it a bit harder. But on my experience, outside the UK, I would need to look at, let's say, 3, 4 options, and one of them would be absolutely fine. But in the UK, I spent the entire week. It was my full-time job, guys. I'm not kidding. It was my full-time job. So I was waking up every day and I would be viewing the flats in London, traveling from one to another. And I think I've seen around 20 of them. And maybe 4 of them I liked. But other people were faster. And that's essential. If you are trying to rent something here, you have to bring the deposit over with you. And what people do is they come to the viewing and they offer a host straight away their deposit to make sure that this accommodation is going to be theirs. So if you do not decide straight away, you have to be sure that this accommodation will go to someone else.
Okay, thank you, Karina, for this, wonderful answers, wonderful presentation. I guess we'll be hearing from you more, and I guess everyone in the chat are waiting for the presentation to be dropped off. And thank you again, Bottle Water, great school. Again, reminding you of the promos that you're doing with 50% of discount. And I think you might write this down back in the chat, so everybody could participate. And thank you so much. This was a wonderful stream, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you guys very much. It was my pleasure. You are amazing. What you do is amazing. I've been following the guide for a long time. So yeah, thank you very much for all your efforts. Yeah, that was great. Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.